this is Jenna Burt, host of the Confessions of a Military Spouse podcast. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
You're listening to Catch Up, an official news production of Public House Media.
Today is June 18th, 2020, and it's time to catch up on the news that you need to know all about.
Today we're helping you catch up on Aunt Jemima changing its brand name.
Andrew Cuomo will sign an executive order making Juneteenth a holiday for state employees.
A West Australian woman becomes the first woman to serve for the right.
And as always, a bit of good news.
We're your hosts, Anna Herman
and Catherine Smith. Welcome to Catch Up. The pancake syrup company Aunt Jemima will be changing its name in the wake of renewed calls for racial equality. Owner of Aunt Jemima Syrup, Quaker Oats, announced yesterday that the figure on its packaging is based on a, quote, racial stereotype, and to acknowledge the ongoing efforts of racial equality, Quaker Oats seeks to rebrand its syrup to fit more than its former stereotypical model. Here to discuss more on the topic is Catch-Up correspondent John Lauder. So with this recent topic of racial inequalities and the ongoing topic in today's news stream, as we continue to see major multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar companies and businesses taking the initiative of racial equality, what do you think this will mean for other major companies within the industry?
Yeah, Kat, I definitely think that's going to be the case. I mean, it's pretty clear that a lot of these big corporations really need to think twice about their marketing, their branding, what their products look like, what the packaging of their products look like. I mean, you look at an Aunt Jemima package, I mean, it's very clear that it's way behind the times, especially with everything we're going through here in 2020. And companies also like Uncle Ben Rice, Mrs. Buttersworth, pancake products, amongst others, really need to look in the mirror and really consider making changes to their products, to their branding that fit where our country, where our world is here in 2020.
So, as the Black Lives Matter movement continues to make progress, do you think that the major companies that get involved in social justice movements, such as we have seen, will change the narrative on this ongoing battle of racial inequalities in the United States?
Yeah, absolutely, Anna, I do, because you see companies that have come out sort of on the other side and have not, done the right things, have not made the right decisions. They've really been under fire, under a microscope, and they've already lost out on potential opportunities. So I think that it's going to be critical moving forward for any company that wants to obviously appeal to everyone, but also to continue making money, continue to profit, continue to be in the public sphere. You've got to be looking towards, the Black Lives Matter movement, and also making sure that, racial equality, racial justice is a part of the initiatives. It just seems like it has to be, because people are not going to tolerate it. It just seems like 2020 has sort of been that tipping point, and now these companies have to start to make changes.
Right. Well, thanks for joining us today here, John.
Thanks, guys.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said he will sign an executive order on Wednesday that makes Juneteenth a holiday for New York State employees and will propose to make the day an official state holiday by next year. This announcement comes after Virginia Governor Ralph Northam announced that he plans on making Juneteenth an official holiday in his state, which was once also the capital of the Confederacy.
Juneteenth was first made a state holiday by Texas in 1980. This day commemorates June 19th, 1865, the day that the news finally reached the African Americans in South Texas that Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation 2 years earlier. Since the death of George Floyd, there has been a renewed focus on this day.
It also became a controversy flashpoint when President Donald Trump scheduled a campaign rally on Juneteenth in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which also was the site of one of the worst racial violence incidents that the U.S. has ever seen. In 1921, hundreds of African Americans were massacred. Trump has since then moved the date of his campaign rally to June 20th. Laura Maculay from West Australia has become the first woman to successfully surf a wave so big that it has a global reputation for being unsurfable. The wave, called the right, has only been conquered by a few people in the past who have also been all men. Maculay grew up in Gracetown, which is located around an unusually tranquil bay. She trains both on sand and underwater, practicing extended breath-holding exercises. Today, to talk more on this topic, we are joined by official Ketchup correspondent Bryce Berg. Thanks for being here today, Bryce.
Thanks for having me.
So this wave called the right has been dubbed as unsurfable. Why is that, and what are some potential risks of surfing the right?
Well, the right, just like some of the more famous waves across the world, like Jaws or the Dungeon or any kind of different names that usually just have that one-word moniker, have one major reason why it's so difficult to go with, and that is that the wave comes in at such a high intense rollover that the wave that you're trying to balance on is practically standing vertical. It makes it difficult to hold your balance and then angle the board at the right time to go through the wave properly, which means that you have an increased risk of falling over the side of the board against the wave and getting caught underneath all of the different motions and movements of the water underneath the actual wave formation itself. So when you have this kind of stuff, there's always the increased risk of undertows, undercurrents, drowning, and the last male person that attempted to do this wave before Macaulay actually was hospitalized in the process. So it's a major aspect going on right now to have another person conquer the right.
Now, many surfers have actually attempted to combat this, quote, unsurfable wave. And now that Laura Maculay has overcame all previous attempts, as you previously said, what do you think this will mean for the future of women's representation in the sport of leisure and competitive surfing?
Well, the thing is that there's been plenty of amazing surfers, especially from Australia, Jodie Cooper, Lane Beachley, just so many of them. And then actually a woman by the name of Laura Never actually paired up with Macaulay to surf the wave too. And she was able to successfully do it after a couple other times after Macaulay did it. What's great about this is that this is a trademark wave in a time where most athletics, like media cycles, are not happening right now. And so when you have the opportunity to put in a first for a woman in what is technically a difficult thing for anybody, regardless of gender or experience level or anything like that, it's going to be taken out by the media cycles just a little bit differently, and with a little bit of contextual difference. I mean, we now understand a little bit more about what representation means in the fight for equality, and to have somebody actually be able to go out there and do this and have that extra status symbol that can help connect people to the experience and help people connect to what it means to be a champion surfer like this, to tackle this Evel Knievel style approach to this. I think it allows some different discussions and becomes more inviting to people that wouldn't necessarily have discussions like this.
Well, thank you for joining us today on Catch Up, Bryce.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And as always, here's a little bit of good news for you today. 2 Ugandan entrepreneurs are working to upcycle old plastic and make them into personal protective equipment in response to their shortage in hospitals that are dealing with COVID-19 patients. Even after the government ordered the closing of all non-essential businesses, Peter Okwoko and Paige Belcom, co-founders of Taka Taka Plastics, kept working hard in their plastic processing facility.
To their surprise, after posting a picture of a prototype on social media, a local hospital contacted them and asked them for 10 masks due to a shortage. For their masks, they used locally sourced molds from molten plastic and then hand-delivered them to the hospital. Later on that afternoon, the pair got a call from the hospital asking for more because they worked so well. What a heartwarming story.
Thanks for catching up on today's news with us. I'm host Anna Herman.
And I'm Catherine Smith. Please be sure to catch up with us again tomorrow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
We appreciate you listening to Catch Up. For even more content, follow Catch Up Digital on social media. Just search for @TimeForCatchup.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the stories we covered today. Just use the hashtag #CastTheCatchup on social media.
Catch Up is an official production of Public House Media.